Welcome to Contractor Cuts, where we cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of growing a successful contracting company.
Welcome back to Contractor Cuts. My name is Clark Turner.
I'm Jared Flo.
Thanks for joining us. Today we are covering the devil is in the details.
Yeah, baby.
And so what that means for us are a couple of different, we're going to cover two different areas where details really hurt you. You know, we always preach you're trying to save time, your reputation and your money, and you need good time management to do that. And so today we're talking about how details, taking the extra minute and a half to fill in some details, will save both your reputation and your money. All right, so let's start with money. Let's start with how do you save money by filling in details, Jared?
Well, I think where that really comes into play is when you're estimating. When you're building out an estimate, I've seen some of the contractors that I coach, and they send me over an estimate, and their line items they make sense, but they're vague. Yep. And there's paint interior, full interior paint. Well, what is that? Is that the walls, trim, doors, windows? Are we doing that?
Ceilings,
are you doing the ceilings? Yeah. Are there multiple colors? There's so many different variables that
what product paint am I using?
Right. And the SKUs of colors and all of that stuff is missing. I'll handle that because I just talked with the customer. They shot me a text message. I've got it and whatever. Yep. And the whole estimate is built out, and it makes sense. And it's the bottom line dollar is fine and whatever. But when you get into the job and the crews are running and wait, was I supposed to do that? Is that what's happening? Or the client thinks something is going to happen based on the way that they read the line item, and then they go walk the house and they call you and they're like, hey, what? I thought we were changing the this around. I thought this was happening. It's right there. You said you were going to do this. No, that's not what I meant. So taking the time to go through and review your line items on an estimate and make sure that every detail of what you are expected to be doing based on what you're charging. I'm going to charge them this amount, and this is what I'm covering with that dollar amount. That needs to be exponentially clear. And that's going to, what happens is when you get in the middle of it and it wasn't clear, now you're in that argument with the client, or you're in an argument with your subcontractor because he's like, no, that's not what this said.
And you're always stuck holding the bag.
And you're stuck holding the bag, and you have to do one of two things. You either have to throw money at it, or you have to go back to the client and frustrate the client and try and get more money out of them for this extra thing. And you're in this huge argument, all because you didn't take the time to think about a line item and spell it out thoroughly so that there is no room for in the gray of what we're doing. We are doing this and we are not doing this. Because some of the line items that we've written up actually say that we are doing this, but it does not include this.
So a great example of what you just said, the paint interior. Right? Our software, you program line items if you want. You can set a preset line item. So our paint line item, right, is full interior paint. This includes walls, trim, and ceiling. This is 2 colors for walls, 1 color for trim, 1 color for ceiling.
But it does not include doors.
Sherwin-Williams Promar 200 is a product that we're using. Does not include doors and windows. So whatever it is, all of that is programmed. So when I'm in my software, I say, okay, I'm going to do a paint interior line, and I'm going to choose the one that's full interior. Boom, I do that. All of that's spelled out already on the quote. I don't have to type anything. Now I just can type any extras that I want to do, any other details. But I've got all that on my line item. So now it says 2 paint colors for walls. If you would have just wrote a normal email estimate and said interior full paint, $8,000. You get there and you've budgeted, all right, I'm going to do a standard paint. And you guys show up, you say, hey, I need my paint colors, homeowner. They say, okay, here's the paint colors. I've got a different color for every single room. I'm using 4 different trim colors. And in the ceiling in the living room, I want to be a little bit different. Well, now we've got to buy all this extra paint. And instead of having 1.5 gallons left over at the end of the job from the paint that you use, you've got 3/4 of a gallon on 17 different colors. So I've spent on materials alone, I've probably spent $500 extra, $600 extra on just the paint materials. Also, my crew says, wait, you want me to change brushes and wash them out between every single room? I'm going to need an extra $900, right?
Right.
$900 to $1,000 because I'm switching out every single room. And now when I go back to do my second coat, I'm switching every single room. It's going to cost me way more time to do it this way. So because we spelled out 2 colors on the quote in our version, now when you, as a homeowner, say, hey, Clark, we got 17 different colors that we're using. Here they are. I say, okay, well, let me explain to you why we spelled out 2. Because it costs more money because I have a lot left over. And it takes a lot of time to wash out brushes between one room to the next, or cost money to switch out roller heads, and just takes the guys a lot more time.
Right.
So we spell it out as 2 colors because every color beyond that, we charge $200 to change, right? Whatever your rule is, whatever it is. And I spell that out, and there's details on the quote to back up what I'm saying to my client.
Right.
So those details now allowed me to say, okay, so you're doing 15 extra colors. We're $200. So it's going to be $3,000 extra. I'm going to knock that down. I'm going to do $2,000 extra for you. But if you want to do all these colors, it's going to cost $2,000 more.
Right.
Right. You're not happy about it, but we've had the conversation now before I go. Now, people don't do 17 colors, obviously.
Right.
But that's the example.
Some of them do.
I guess so. But all that to say, I now have the extra $500 for the materials. I got the extra $1,000 for my crew, and I'm making $500 more dollars, and the client understands.
Right.
And so that's what we're talking about with details on the estimate.
I mean, it even goes into flooring allowances, you know, for tile or whatever. Having that detail in there that I've got X amount of dollars in this price budgeted for the materials cost.
Got a $5 per square foot tile budget.
And if you go buy, if you choose one that's $20 a square foot, that's great. You owe an additional $15 per square foot. But that you've already set by nature of being clear with that, you've set the expectation without even having to say anything to them, because they look at the estimate and they say, okay, great, it's $5. I really like this one. It's $20. Maybe they can get me a discount by nature of their relationship with this vendor, but I know that as the client, I know that by choosing that, I'm going to have to pay some extra money. So they're already anticipating, without having a conversation with you, that they need to pay some extra money to choose what they want.
Yep. They're already on the same page. The other importance of details on our estimates, and this is the way the ProServe software works, is you have one page where you put all your line items in, right? And whether it's our software or anyone else's, this is how you should operate. Ours is built to do this, where it's super easy, but you have one spot where you make all of your line items. I set this. I create an estimate from, as well as my invoice.
The paint line item you were talking about.
We're just doing paint. I send this line item as an estimate over to my client in PDF form. They can look at it. They approve it. They sign off on it.
You got the SKUs of the colors and all that.
I can put all that in there. And then I say, okay, I'm going to have Jared's painting company come and paint the house. And so I'm going to take this and also hit, okay, I'm going to create a work order from here. And I'm going to do this line to Jared. Boom. Now a PDF work order gets emailed to Jared for the amount with all of the details on his work order. So now Jared knows exactly what I'm paying him for. The homeowner knows exactly what they're paying me for, and there's no ambiguity in the middle where it's, okay, the homeowner thinks I'm painting 17 colors. Jared's like, I ain't painting more than one unless you're paying me more for this price. And then I'm stuck either forcing Jared's going to leave and not paint the house because I don't have enough money for him, or I got to pay him the money. And the homeowner's not paying me a penny more. He's a lawyer. I'm not going to go up against him. And so I'm now out that $1,500. So,
well, in real life example, one of the project managers at our GC company went to go walk a property after it was done being painted, walked in and was like, this is not the right color at all. It's did I mess up? He went in, he looked at his line item, he saw the SKU, he looked up the SKU, he went to the paint buckets and went, nope, it was the wrong color. He went to the crew and said, hey, you guys painted this the wrong color. No, I painted it right. You never told me. Blah, blah, blah. No, it's right there on the work order. Here's the exact SKU. Tell me if this is the SKU that matches those paint buckets you bought. And then, but we had the opportunity because we wanted to save relationship with that crew. We went in, we helped them, said, hey, here's the deal. You made the mistake. we don't want you got to cover the cost of your mistake, but we're going to work with you because you're a great crew, right? So
we'll buy the second round of
we
materials.
didn't screw them because of it, but we also weren't screwed by having to cover everything because there was nothing to back it up.
I can cover $400 and more paint.
That's
you
right.
cover the rest of the labor, and
That's
you can
right.
repaint it.
That's right.
Right,
Yeah.
and so we can really not hurt ourselves and also look like a good guy with our crew. Like
but if those
we're gonna
details weren't there, I have nothing to back it up,
Yep.
and I just end up holding the bag, as you say, and I got to make the customer happy. I don't want to lose reputation, so I'm just going to eat the cost of this, and I'm going to pay for it.
Yep.
Right?
I don't have a case against the customer.
Yeah.
I don't have evidence to prove that they owe me more money. It's, well, I didn't mean that when I wrote the estimate. I need you to pay more. Well, no, sorry, no.
Yeah.
I'm paying you what you quoted me that I'd pay you.
Well, and I think the litmus test is look back over the 6 months of your past jobs.
Yep.
Which do you have jobs that you can identify that this didn't go well or whatever? If you had spent extra time putting in adequate detail in your estimate, would it have saved you the headache?
Yep.
And I think the answer to that is a large majority of the time, headaches and problems that happen on jobs, I've said many times before, are because of misunderstood expectations.
Yeah.
And the expectation is based off of your estimate. So if your estimate was not clear, it probably cost you some headache and issues and money and reputation on your past jobs.
Yep.
Spend the time putting in the details. A little extra time will save you a lot of money.
Yep. The industry average of general contractors make 4% net profit. At the end of the year, that is the
Overhead
industry
and
average.
everything.
After everything's taken out, that's how much is left in the pocket of the owner of the company is 4%.
Right.
If you are losing 2 to 3% because you're mismanaging the jobs, that's all your profit.
That's it.
Like, you're not making 30%, you're making 4%. Right. Our goal is to make 9 to 10% because we're so efficient.
Right.
And most of the time, to be honest, when you're making 4%, that's probably with all of these errors built into it for the average general contractor.
Yeah.
But you could be making 7, 8, 9. You could double your profits by having a work order system, as well as having a defined scope of what you are and are not paying for. That
Clear
one
communication
thing,
and accountability
it
goes to the bottom line.
That one thing can double your profits if you just clean that up. So that's the devil in the details when it comes to estimates and when it comes to money. And it also saves you time, because it might have taken me an extra hour to write this estimate, but it saved me 3 weeks on the back end negotiating with the crew, getting the homeowner, the crew getting mad and leaving. I got to find another painter who can do it for this price.
Yeah.
Now the homeowner don't want to pay me, and now I'm gonna. That's 3 weeks of work for an hour of upfront detail, right? And you're losing your reputation with the homeowner too.
Detail on your estimate saves you reputation and time.
Yep. And
it puts time back in your pocket, and it keeps your customer happy.
Yep.
That's going to lead to referrals and repeat business.
And we're going to cover in a future episode how we do our estimates. But the key is, I'm not spending the 3-4 hours on an estimate on my first go round.
Right.
We have a phased way that we do it, to where we kind of pre-qual clients through our estimating process, to where I'm not going to spend the time detailing an estimate
For
until
a tire kicker or somebody who doesn't have money or whatever.
They're extremely hot lead. We have a 90% close ratio on those once they get to that point that we're detailing it out. That's worth the time, because we're probably going to get that job. So we'll talk through that later, but the important part of this is, don't start a job unless you've detailed out the quotes.
Right.
All right. So that's the first end of detailing. That is how I lose money or make money through detail and manage my crews and the homeowner. The second level of detail, and the devil in the details, is how I save my reputation, how I subconsciously show to clients that they should pick me, and how we increase our close ratio and make our clients happier.
Yeah.
So Jared, what is the detail that will save that?
Well, it comes back to something that we harp on, we talk about a lot, but it comes to it is the detail in communicating through emails.
Yep.
Communicating in general.
Yep.
But specifically talking about the details of sending an email. A lot of contractors, when they send a estimate, when they send an invoice, here's your invoice, thank you for your business. Right? Here's the estimate that you asked for. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Yep.
Now, you're delivering the thing to them, right?
Yep.
They asked for an estimate, you got it to them. But by nature of not thinking through, what do I need to communicate to them? What questions might they have about the conversations that we had on site when we did our estimate walk. They had a couple of these questions. What about this? What if this? What if that thing?
Yep.
If I don't communicate what I did and spelled out in the estimate to them, they're probably going to have to email me back and be like, hey, what do you think about this? What about that thing? Did you put this in there? Did you make,
What's my budget for tile?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so thinking through detailed communication comes from looking at your client and when they receive this email, what is their perspective? How are they going to receive it? What is it going to make them think? And are there questions by nature of it that they're going to ask? And then proactively answering those questions in the first email. Period, it's going to save you time, right? Because if you don't do that, they send the estimate, then they ask, hey, what about this? Did you make this? Did you, right? And you got this back and forth, which causes agitation. And at the beginning on an estimate level, if the experience is this like back and forth, they have to think through, did you think through this? And you didn't proactively tell them.
This guy doesn't think very deep.
This guy doesn't think very deep. And is this how the whole job's going to go? Like I'm going to have to ask him these questions the whole way through. So taking the time, an extra 5 minutes on a 1 minute, real quick email, take an extra 5 minutes and spell out some specific things to make sure that you are communicating well. And as we've talked about in a previous podcast, closing that loop for the client so that they're not left wondering what's next, what's happening, are they?
Well,
right?
and you take that 5 minutes and that turns into, I've answered all their questions and tomorrow they say, let's do this. This is great. Versus we've got 7 emails that go back and forth over the next week and a half. And I'm now having to answer 7 emails, which will take a lot longer than 5 minutes. And now it's a week and a half later before they can even decide to make a decision, and they're frustrated.
And let's put a real life example into it. You're doing that. You've got a crew who's just finished a job. You tell them you've got a new job starting soon, and they're ready to. They're chomping at the bit. They're banging on your door saying, "Hey, when do I start? When do I start?" 2 days of email and back and forth. 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. There's sometimes that crew's like, hey, bro, I got a new job. I can hook you up later on, right? You've lost the opportunity to start this job because you didn't
3 weeks now.
Because you didn't take 5 minutes to detail out communication to this client in an email.
That's exactly right. And when we preach and teach, and we have a 2-day intensive that we do, and during that we kind of go through some of this stuff. And one of the main things, we dive deep into how to communicate with details and estimates. It's actually part of our core values is communication and what that looks like. But we detail out an estimate email and an invoice email. The estimate email, we want every project manager, every estimate to go out the same way with the same type of paragraph. So paragraph 1, excitement about your job. I want my contractor and my project manager to be excited about the job and communicate that to the client that this means something to me.
After building this estimate out, I'm super excited about how this kitchen is going to turn out. I think it's going to be great. Let me spell out some details about it.
Second paragraph, I'm explaining my estimate, right? You've got all the details on the estimate, but they're not going to detail it out. So I'm going to explain anything that was left as a question during this, right? Hey, your wife mentioned that you guys wanted some upgraded cabinets. I've quoted it with the standard ready to assemble, which is our mid-grade cabinet. If you want to upgrade to the high-end custom built, it's about a $15,000 difference, but currently that's not in there. But I wanted to let you know that, right? Any details that you need to answer questions from when I talk. What did we talk about on the job site? She was talking about these cabinets, but I didn't quote them, right? Because that's going to be a question she asked.
Yeah. Well, MEPs, right?
Right.
On your plumbing line item, just so you know, I've thrown a round number on that. So because there's going to be some variables based on
I need my plumber to get out there.
I got to have my plumber get out there. So it's a number that's going to be close, but that number might change.
Yep. So I'm explaining exactly that. The next paragraph down, and if you've ever been through sales training, this is sales 101, and this is the most important thing you're doing with every contact with your client. I'm walking them down the path to say yes. So what do they need to know that they're going to ask you? What are the next steps?
Right.
That's what you always have to have in an email. Every email, no matter what you're saying, what's happening next? What are your next steps? So, paragraph 1, excitement. Paragraph 2, explanation.
Details.
Paragraph 3, if this looks good, Our next step is to get you in the office to do a client engagement agreement. We'll walk through this estimate and start defining all the details on it, all your material selections. From there, we'll give you a Gantt chart of how this, of when we can start and how long we think this job's going to run. We'll also talk through your selections list and talk you through what you need to pick out, where you can pick it out, and really give you a full understanding of how the renovation would work if you choose us. So if this quote looks in your ballpark and really good, the next step will be getting you in the office maybe first of next week to sit down with us for an hour and a half and to review the quote and to kind of fill you in on how we do renovations, right?
The loop is fully closed at that point.
100% closed.
You know exactly when I do this, this is what's coming.
Yep.
There's no question. There's no, okay, so what happens? Do I send this back to them?
Yep.
Do I, how does this work? It's very, very clear. They can easily go through the estimate and do a review. You've spelled out the details and the hot points that they need to focus on and make sure that they're okay with. And then you've told them what's next.
Yep.
That is such a saver of time and leads to reputation.
Time, reputation, and also you're subconsciously saying to that client, I know what you're going to ask because I can see your needs. So I'm an expert here.
Right.
And you can trust me. And the client says, well, I've had 3 bids. This is the first one that came back where the guy knows everything.
Yeah.
I don't know everything. I don't, but I knew what they're going to ask me. And so it was a single email back to us saying, yeah, you know what? I'd love to come in and see how you guys run.
Right.
If I can get them in the office, they're signing with us. Right. And the other 2 guys, they got another week and a half of emails back and forth with the homeowner. And for us, we're moving on to date number 2, right? And we're bringing them into the office. So
well, and what I love about how well this works is it's that you said it before. It's kind of that subconscious sales that they may perceive, they may not, but it just feels better.
Yes.
It's like, wow, like this guy's
impressive.
on top of it.
Yep.
Right? Most of the time, you've got a client who's kind of testing you out and got somebody else doing an estimate for them. And they're, you'll meet me out on site. And is the guy coming? Is he not coming? I'll get you an estimate. And a day goes by, 2 days go by, 3 days go by. The estimate finally shows up and it's like,
here's your estimate.
Right?
No details.
All of that stuff, the dollar amount might be equal. It might be less, but there is a I know I'm about to be in a relationship with this person. I'm going to invite them into my life for a period of time, and I would love to have that to be as least agitating as possible.
Yep.
And right off the bat, this guy, like, this just feels smooth and easy.
You get that first estimate from the first guy, and it's like, all right, well, what about so what would we do next? What about the paint and what about the I don't even know.
We talked about that skylight. It's not. I don't even see it on here.
And there's just questions. There's loops that are open in their head, and it's just this little like uncomfortableness. Then they get your email, and the first words that they're going to say in their head are, "Thank you," right? Right. And so that's what we're going for to build our reputation, to build the client experience, and it's not hard. It just takes an extra 5 minutes to set yourself apart. So, if you are going to do this week, don't try to change everything you do. Don't try to rewrite every email that you send.
Right.
Look for the next estimate you're going to send and follow that simple guide. Excitement, details about the job and the estimate, next steps.
Yeah.
Right? If you do that, just follow that. We'd like to end with excitement as well. But if you follow that and go through that process on the next estimate you send out, sit and wait for their response.
Yeah.
That's all we're asking.
Think about times that you've had work done on your house, or you've had some kind of service done on your house, a car or whatever, right? And on your side, what makes that experience go well? What makes you feel happy and excited and trusting of this person? What would you want? How would you want somebody to treat you if they were doing a service for you? Think through that for your client and deliver it.
Yep.
It's simple. It's simple.
Absolutely.
And it will, the thing that we harp on all the time is that in this business, the 2 things that we are working to protect is reputation and money.
Yep.
And by nature of doing the devil in the details and putting the details in these 2 different things, you are gaining 3 things. You are gaining reputation, you are gaining money. You're not wasting money. You're not losing money. And both of those things by nature of doing this, you're gaining time that in this business is a commodity that you don't have a lot of.
Yep.
Right?
Well said. I think that's great. If you want more from us, we'd love to talk to you and interact with you. We'd love to show you the software and actually how this works with preset items and how to do that.
Work order process.
Sending work. It's super simple. It's not one of those complicated softwares. There's depth to it where you can learn all the depths of it. But in essence, there's one page. You put your line items in. You send it to the client. You send your work orders out, and you send invoices. And from that page, you pay those work orders. So it's all one-stop shop. And it all interacts with QuickBooks on the back-end accounting side where it does it all for you, where you're not doing much in there. So we would love to show you that. We'd love to talk about that with you. If you'd like to come to one of our events where we really dive deep into this stuff, go to our website. We've got some events coming up. We'd love to see you there. So let us know if you want to chat. ProServeAlliance.com. Thanks so much.
Check us out.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
See you next time.